So, a very good morning to all of you, my dear students. Welcome back to the class once again, and I hope that you are all fine by the grace of Almighty Allah. So, we are going to discuss the administrative policies of the Mughal Empire. We started this one from the last class as well. So, we will talk about the revenue, that is the income of the Mughal Empire, from where they were getting money, the source of income. What was that? The main source of revenue was the land tax paid by the peasantry, means paid by the farmers. They were paying the tax, which is also you might be knowing by the name of lagan also. That is another name of this tax. So the main source of the income of the Mughal Empire was this tax which were coming from the land, है ना, जो जमीन से टैक्स मिलते थे. That was the main income of the Mughal Empire. Peasants, they paid taxes through the rural elites are those people which are elected or which are chosen by the mughal emperor for collecting the taxes, and they are very resource person. They are very you can say having a lot of sources also with the Mughal emperors, these people. So that is the headman or the local chieftain, you can say the headman of that village, that is the headman of that particular area. They used to be the elites of that particular rural places, village sites, or the local chief of that place, like we are having nowadays mukhia, sarpanch. So the Mughal emperor were also appointing this person, these headmen, to collect the taxes, and they were referred to as zamindars, और इनको ही हम लोग क्या कहते हैं, zamindars. They were referred to them zamindars at that time. So these zamindars were collecting the taxes from the peasants, from the farmers, and then they were transferring the amount to the Mughal emperor. Raja Todarmal, he was Akbar's revenue minister, means that department was under the control of Raja Todarmal, and he was Akbar's revenue minister. He introduced a land revenue system called Todarmal's Bandobast. That was the system of collecting taxes, and that was introduced by Todarmal's Bandobast. That is known as Todarmal's Bandobast, and it was introduced by Raja Todarmal, and that's why its name was also Todarmal Bandobas. So that is quite good. Let us see. Under this system, land was measured and divided into three categories: good, middle, and bad. So under Todarmal's Bandobas, the land is to be measured. है ना? Suppose how much land is that, how many hectares of land is that. They used to measure that land and divide into the categories like good, middle, and bad. Land revenue was fixed according to the fertility of the land. It is what, if it is a very good land and a lot of good crops can be grown in that land, so the land revenue was fixed according to the growth of the land, according to the fertility of the land. The revenue was fixed at one third of the produce. Means whatever the farmers will produce, they will have to give one third part to the Mughal emperor. Suppose they are producing 900 kg of wheat, for example, 900 kg of wheat. Then that 300 kg of wheat from that 900 kg means 900, and you will have to divide that 900 by 3. So you will get 300. So that 300 kg of wheat should be given to the Mughal emperor as a land tax, and it could be paid either in cash. The farmers can pay the amount of the wheat of or you can say the cost of that 300 kg of wheat, they can pay it in cash also, or they can pay that 300 kg of wheat directly to the emperor. They will take the wheat also, and if one don't want to give the wheat, then they will have to pay the cash to the Mughal emperor. So the tax can be paid in cash or in kind, both were acceptable. Let us see what is next there. Todarmal carried out a survey of crop yields, prices, and areas cultivated for a 10-year period. So Todermal, what he was doing, he was having a survey. Survey means he was trying to get the records. He was trying to know about the crop that is being produced in a particular field. Suppose Mr. Ahmed is producing rice in his field from last 10 years. So he will get the idea that from last 10 years, how much crop, how much rice he is growing in that particular field, how much kg of rice is he is getting from that field from the last 10 years. So he will ask him and he will maintain a record. So likewise, he was surveying, he was going and asking, he was sending his men, Todermal was sending his persons, or he was also going with them to have a survey to get the rough idea, to get the rough idea that how much crop is being produced in that field from the last 10 years, and what was the price of the rice in those 10 years, and how much area they are cultivating in that period, in that 10-year period. Means he was getting a knowledge of the last 10 years so that he can take out an average, that how much tax should I take, or how much tax should the Mughal emperor take from that particular farmer for growing the field crop in the field. And on the basis of this 10-year data that he was collecting by surveying, tax was fixed on each crop. Suppose some farmer is growing rice, then tax is different on rice, and while tax is different in for growing wheat. So for growing rice, for growing wheat, for growing bajra, for growing different type of crops, the tax was different, and it was fixed on the basis of the data of that 10 year that was collected by surveying by Todermal and his men. So this was the type of revenue system that they were carrying. That is in continuation administrative policy of the Mughal Empire. Let us see the part revenue. We are continuing with this part. So each province was divided into revenue circles. Now, because India was very large at that time, so only Todermal cannot control the whole of the India. So what he was doing, he was dividing the provinces, means the local areas, into revenue circles with its own rates for individual crops, and everywhere there were individual rate for each crop. Means the rice will be sold at the rate of rupees 5 or rupees 6 or 10. It was decided, and it was differing from area to area. Uh, and that was that system, this system was known as zabt. This revenue system was called as zabt, where the rates of different crops were different, and the province was divided into revenue circles. Revenue means what? Income from for the Mughal emperor. So they were dividing the area into revenue circles and giving their own rates for different crops. Somewhere, suppose in Gaya, the price of the rice may be 1 rupees, but maybe in Patna it might be 1.5 rupees or 2 rupees. So the crops were different, the price of the crops were different at different places. That was according to the data collected in the last 10 years. So the average price was fixed according to that data only. This revenue system was known as zabt, and this system was prevalent in those areas where Mughal administrators could survey the land. So where they can survey the land, only there they can introduce this system, and they can fix the tax rate of tax according to the last 10 years data. But this survey was not possible in Gujarat and Bengal, because the people of Gujarat and Bengal, they were not helping the Todermal's men or the king men to give the data. They were not giving the data. In some areas, the zamindars became so much powerful, so they rebelled against Mughal authority. So as zamindars were collecting taxes, so they might be doing unfair means also. Might be they might be collecting 1,000 rupees and paying only 100 rupees or 200 rupees to the Mughal emperor. So those 800 rupees that they were keeping for themselves, that made them very powerful. That made them really powerful, and they were also having their own men, own their soldiers. They were having their own soldiers. So they were rebelling. Rebelling means they were going against the Mughal emperor on account of exploitation by the Mughal administrators. And what they were saying, that these Mughal administrators, means the person who are coming to collect the taxes, they are exploiting, they are charging excess taxes. That's why we are revolting. That's why we are protesting. We are not going to follow the orders of the Mughal emperor. So this was the condition, and that might happen also, my dear students, because the Mughal emperor, whether it is Akbar, Babur, or anyone, cannot roam here and there at every places. She cannot reach to every places. So that might be some of the persons from the Mughal authority might be not good for the people. They might be exploiting them and asking them extra paisa, extra amount of taxes also. That is the reason why the people have revolted. The peasant means farmers. The farmers' revolts became common after the death of Aurangzeb. And when Aurangzeb died, the farmers of everywhere the farmers were revolting. They were saying, no, we will not pay the taxes. The revenue from trade was much less compared to land, and the income that the Mughal emperors were getting from trading, means the person who were doing business, they were also paying taxes, but it was quite less, which is compared to land. And if you will compare the taxes paid by the persons or farmers, then they are paying a lot of taxes. Those who are having land, those who are growing crops in their land, but the persons who were trading, who were purchasing good and selling, and doing the business, they were paying also tax, but that tax was quite less when you will compare that with the tax paid by the farmers. Now from where they were carrying the trade, they were doing business from China, Central Asia, and Europe. And the main item for export were textile means clothes, sir. The main item that they were exporting, that they were selling to other countries like China, Central Asia, and European countries, they were selling textile, they were selling spices, they were selling this indigo. Let me show you, I have the link over here. Let me click on the link. It's not working. Okay, let me click now. You can see this was also being exported to the other countries. This is indigo plant, है which is used in medicinal purposes for making medicines also. And saltpeter, you can see this one. They were also selling this saltpeter also to the European countries. So that was the trading system. So now we are going to discuss about the Mansabdars and Jagirdars, in the Mughal administrative system. What was they? What were all these? The most important feature was the Mansabdari system of the Mughal administration. So we will try to understand about this Mansabdari system, what is all about. The term Mansab meant a rank or position. And I try to understand this thing very clearly, because it will help you a lot to understand about their Mughal administrative system. So the term Mansab, it means rank or position of a particular officer of the Mughal emperor. It means that someone is having this type of rank. Suppose in your class also, after examination you get rank, someone come first, someone come second, like that. So Mansab means what? Rank or position. The Mansabdar was the official who held this rank. Official means officers, they were having this rank. This system was introduced by Akbar. So, like in soldiers, in the army, you will also see that there are rank of the officers. In even police also, you will see in their uniform they are having stars. Someone is having 3 stars, someone is having 4 stars. So, like that, that star shows their rank or position in that particular system. So the Mansabdars and Jagirdars in this system, Akbar also introduced this type of ranking system. He was giving the rank to his persons. Its chief features were the following. And now let us see what is the advantage of this rank of position, or means Mansabs. Mansab was a grading system used by the Mughals to fix rank, salary, and military responsibilities. So they were, first of all, they were fixing the rank. Suppose someone is having a particular rank, then that particular rank, if someone is having rank 1, suppose rank 1, then he will get 1000 rupees as a salary, and he will have to do this and that. For example, means many things he will have to do that were military responsibilities. He will get according to the rank, and he will also get a salary according to his rank. So rank and salary were determined by a numerical value called jat. So rank or salary जो उनको बताया जाता है, it means that they are having jat. That is a jat means it is a numerical value. Suppose 1, 2, 3, 4, these are numerical values. So rank and salary were determined by this numerical value known as jat. The higher the jat, the more prestigious was the noble's position in court, and the larger his salary. Means if someone will having a jat of 5000, then he will get 5000 salary, and he will get a very good position in the court also, and he will have very good responsibilities also, high rank he will be given. So the higher the jat, the more the salary, the more he is getting prestige, more honor he will get in the court. So the rank and salary are fixed according to the jat. And jat is what? Jat is numerical value, 5000, 3000, 1000, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is numerical value. Jat will be only always countable in numerical value. Let me show you the Mansabdar's military responsibilities. Now, what are the military responsibilities? Military के responsibilities क्या होते हैं? Let us see. The Mansabdars, those Mansabdar who are having military responsibilities, he will have to do something. What? He has to maintain a fixed number of sawar, or you can see cavalrymen. Let me show you these cavalrymen. He will have to maintain this type of soldiers who will ride on the horses. So he will have to maintain a fixed number. Means if particular military commander is having particular information or jat, so he will have to maintain according to the fixed number of cavalrymen. Suppose that you can see in the screen, the men are carrying on the horses, are riding the horses, so they are known as cavalrymen or sawar also. So a Mansabdar military responsibility carries this one, that Mansabdar will have to maintain a fixed number of sawar or cavalrymen. Then the Mansabdar will have to bring all his cavalrymen for a review. Means the authority, means Akbar and his noble person will check the number of cavalrymen, and they will register them, their name, their date of birth, and all the things. They will note their details, and they will also note the details of their horses, brand of the horses. Yes, during that time, the Mughal emperor, they were having a lot of horses of different brand. Someone, they are buying horses from Afghanistan, from Pakistan, from Nepal. So they were having different type of branded horses. And then only after registering, after reviewing, after checking, then they used to get money. Then they used to receive money to pay them as salary. So Mansabdar will get, suppose he is having 100 cavalrymen, so he will get salary of 100 cavalrymen to pay them. So the Mughal emperor will not directly pay the salary to the cavalrymen. The Mughal emperor will pay the salary of that 100 men to the Mansabdar, to the person who is having that rank. So he will get the salary, and he will distribute the salary among his cavalrymen. So he will get the money from the Mughal emperor. So that is the thing. That was a really a very organized and a very good way, you can see. And who will pay this, and how the Mansabdar will get salary? So Mansabdars are having their rank, fixed rank, and their rank are also fixed with the, or connected with the numerical value known as jat also. So if a Mansabdar is having a jat of 3000, suppose 3000 jat is the value of a particular Mansabdar, so he will get salary according to the jat. Means he's having 3000 jat, and if Akbar or Mughal emperor fixed that suppose a person is having one jat, then he will get 500 rupees. Suppose, है ना, the value of one jat is rupees 500. So if a mansabdar will have a jat of 10, है ना, suppose 10 jat is the value of a mansabdar, then what type of salary, how much salary he will get? 10 into 500 means 5,000 rupees he will get salary monthly basis. So the mansabdars were getting the salary according to the jat, and the cavalrymen or the sawar, they were getting salaries from these mansabdars only, and the mansabdars were receiving their salaries, the salaries of the cavalrymen. The mansabdar were receiving the salaries of the cavalrymen from the emperor, from the government, and then he was distributing. So this was the type of system that they were following at that time. So let us see next what is there in the administrative policies of the Mughal emperor, Mansabdars and Jagirdars, that we will continue. Now, what are the chief features? What were the chief features of this system? That Mansabdari system. Mansabdars receive their salaries as revenue assignment called Jagirs. So now Mansabdars, the government was doing something differently in the even Sultanate period also, that they were giving some land also, some revenue assignment. Means the Mansabdars will have to collect the taxes from particular place, and from that tax he will have to pay to the cavalrymen. So that was the revenue assignment. They were receiving salaries as revenue assignments, which were like iktas of the Sultanate period. And it is like same in the Sultanate period, it was known as iktas, but in Mughal period, it is known as jagirs. But unlike muktis, that is holders of ikta, but at that time the holders of ikta means the mansabdars, they were not actually residing in that particular place. But this time you can see most mansabdars did not actually reside in or administer their jagis. But in the Sultanate period, those who were having the ikta means iktadas were living at that place, at that particular, he was staying also, and then he was collecting tax. But in the Mughal period, you can see over here that these mansabdars, those who were getting the assignment of Jagir, they were actually not staying at that place. They were having their own persons, own staff, to collect the taxes or to administer their Jagirs, to take control of the Jagirs. So during this Mughal period, the Jagirdars, or you can say the Mansabdars, those who were having the revenue assignment of Jagirs, they were not actually residing at that place, means living at that place. They were living at the Mughal emperor court only. Mansabdars had right to collect the revenue, which was done by their officials. Now you can see Mansabdars were also having their own staff known as officials. So Mansabdars were sending their officials to collect the taxes, to collect the revenue, which the Mansabdars themselves served in some other places. And you can see Mansabdars, suppose a person, Mr. X, he is a Mansabdar of Bihar, but what is happening, he is a Mansabdar of Patna, suppose let us give him a district Patna, but he, that particular Mr. X is not living at that Patna, at that place known as Patna. He was living at particular place, he was living and doing his work at some other place like Gaya or Jahanabad. He's doing working at some other places, but he has to collect the revenue taxes from Patna as well. So he was sending his persons, his staff, his officers to collect taxes, because Mansabdars were having different type of responsibilities on their shoulders. In Akbar's reign, the Jagirs were carefully assessed. Carefully assessed means carefully accountable. That is, a careful account was keeping there at the time of Akbar's. Means kitna collection hota hai, how much collection are coming from the in the form of taxes, and whether the cavalrymen are being paid or not. All this type of thing was going on very carefully at the time of Akbar. Everything was calculating and calculated at a very good way. Hence, the revenues were roughly equal to the salary of the Mansabdar. You can see over here, the salary of the Mansabdars were roughly equal according to the revenue system that he was collecting. Suppose he was given the to collect the tax from Patna, and he is getting that 5,000 rupees from whole Patna. For example, let us give him 50,000 rupees he is getting as a tax from Patna. So he has to distribute and take his salary also, and he has to distribute that 50,000 among his cavalrymen or among his officials or officers. So whatever he was collecting, he was distributing and getting his salary also. So Akbar has not to pay anything from his treasure to that Mansabdar, because Mansabdar was collecting and he was distributing, and whatever excess है ना, और जितना ज्यादा collection हो जाता था, that excess amount has to be paid to the Akbar treasures, है ना, अकबर के खजाने में जाना चाहिए वो excess amount, if there is an excess amount. And that is why Akbar was having very careful assessment on the collection of the revenues that were coming from different places, so that he can collect the excess amount. Otherwise those mansabdars will not pay the excess amount to the emperor if emperor is not watching them. So let us calculate, see, but by Aurangzeb's time, due to tremendous increase in the number of Jagirdars or Mansabdars, but in Aurangzeb, during the time of Aurangzeb, the Mansabdar were increased a lot. Suppose there are 5,000 Mansabdars at the time of Akbar, then it was 10,000, it was 8,000 at the time of Aurangzeb. So you know there will be more Mansabdars, then more salary have to be paid, na? So the actual revenue collected was much less than the granted sum. So because there were a lot of mansabdars at the time of Aurangzeb, so whatever the amount they were collecting from as a tax from the particular place, it was very less according to the granted sum. Suppose Aurangzeb has granted that, okay, you will get 5,000 salary, 5,000 rupees for your work. But the revenue that they were collecting was not 5,000, it was 3,000, it was 2,000. So the granted sum was more and the actual revenue collected at that time was very much less due to the increased number of mansabdars. Because mansabdars have are given area, suppose as Patna, Gaya, they are given area to collect the taxes, to control the everything in that place. But if the boundaries will be very much less, because there were many mansabdars and everyone has to be given some task, so there were very many mansabdars and the land were divided also, and the area was divided among the mansabdars, and the mansabdars were having high rank also, so high salary they have to be paid to them. So that is the reason that the amount of tax that they were collecting was quite much less, according to the salary that to be have to be paid to them. So during Aurangzeb time, it was really very chaos and everything was not under the control of the king. There was always a shortage in the number of jagirs, in the number of revenue assignment. Always there was number of shortage in the number of jagirs at the time of Aurangzeb, and that's why that is also one of the reason why these mansabdars started revolting, going against the Mughal emperor Aurangzeb, and that started the decline of the Mughal emperor from Aurangzeb's time also, and after he died, and that the decline also of Mughal emperor started. So that is all in this class, my dear students. We will again have a lot of classes in our next period. For the time being, that is all in this class. My dear students, stay at home and stay safe. Bye bye. Take care.